Hello all, so we're going to have a look at this 40 marker. It is on Weberian theories and so power and stratification. So the question is, discuss the view that an individual's class, status and party can explain inequality. So, view tells me it's a debate. And on for the question, it's going to be that it's based on an individual's class, so their wealth, their status, whether they have a high social position or whether they have political influence. So I'm going to insert table. I'm going to always aim for 6 paragraphs. Let me type it. Okay. So for the question is going to be Weberian, or anybody that suggests that actually absolutely inequality is caused by an individual's class, status and party. So to start with then, this side is all going to be Weberian, as I said, because obviously it's Weber who mentions class, status and party. And then against the question is going to be anybody, which is quite challenging, who argues that absolutely not. Inequality in society is not based on class, so it's not based on wealth. So Marxism's taken out of that. It isn't based on lower status or based on lower political influence. So in this paragraph, I'm going to pop Weber. So Weber argues that society is organised in a system of hierarchy with some people more powerful. If they possess class, which is wealth, and very similar to Marx's idea of capital. Marx always was talking about economic capital. Class, status, that higher position, and party, which is political influence. Can you decide legislation, laws, which will impact upon, everything really. So Weber's going to go there. The other sociologist that's going to go there is going to be Goldthorpe. So I'm combining them together rather than doing one per paragraph. So for Goldthorpe, he argued that, he looked at employment relationships. And found that the conditions of work impact upon life chances. So do you farm the land? Do you use your labour? Do you use your energy? Do you use your body? The conditions of work impact upon life chances. Okay. I'm going to just put 2 there. I normally aim for 3, but I haven't quite got enough to play with. So this shows that an individual's inequality is caused by class or lacking class, status and party, because lacking economic means basically lacking money and having poor conditions of work can reduce life expectancy. Having basically less economic status party, because lacking economic means, and having poor conditions of work can reduce life expectancy and leads to health inequalities, even with free healthcare fix. It's hard, this one, in terms of the analysis and linking it back in. So, however, I'm going to go to a bit of feminism here. So, however, for Firestone, these theorists fail to recognise that the biology of childbirth means that the biology of childbirth leaves women, that it's the biology of childbirth that leaves women economically vulnerable as they rely on men. So we're criticising these two Weberian writers because they fail to recognise that for women, the biology of childbirth is what means that they generally have less class or less wealth. And it also means that there's normally a power differential, there's a difference. Okay, against, I have to pick a theorist that in no way references wealth, status, or political. So that's really challenging. So because I've kind of used feminism here, I'm going to do a feminism paragraph against, and I'm going to do radical feminism. So for radical feminism, gender inequality is caused by differences in power and strength. I can't do Marxist feminism because they think it's class, so they would fall on this side. So that doesn't work. So radical feminism's argument is a physical power difference that causes gender inequality. So for Brown-Miller, because of men's additional size and strength, they will always be a threat to women, including, apologies folks, but including the threat of rape. Because of men's additional size and strength, they're always a threat to women. And this keeps women in a state of fear. For Kelly and Radford, violence against women contains an element of sexual power. So again, things like sexual harassment and catcalling, again, it's one big spectrum really of abuse, but it contains an element of sexual power. And what they argue as well is the threat of violence. So again, similar theme. The threat of violence limits the lives of women. So women are warned not to go out at night, but men have freedom of movement. And because I just quite like three, I'm going to add in Millett from liberal feminism, who argues that patriarchy has penetrated society structures and the family is a key source of women's oppression. And women are ironically complicit. So we basically maintain these patriarchal structures because we are generally society socializers. Okay, so this shows, and again, she's not making any reference really there to wealth, political, or status. So that's why she's in with them. So this shows it is not class, status, or party that causes gender inequality. So breaking the question down into sections, different forms of inequality. But physical power difference, that causes women to limit their movements and freedom. So it's not class status, but it's actually the physical power difference that causes women to limit their movements and freedom to avoid sexual harassment or violence. So women physically restrict their movements. They're told to restrict their movements, again, because of that threat, or they've been subject to sexual harassment and therefore try to limit certain areas of their lives, sadly. However, we're going to take a Marxist feminist. For Beachy, women are semi-proletarialized workers. They're part working class workers. So women are semi-proletarialized workers. And as a result, lack class, wealth, and status within home and work. However, for Beachy, women are semi-proletarialized workers. And as a result, they lack wealth and status within both home and work. Domestic violence or violence against women, although common, 1 in 3, although common, does not impact on all women, but being denied wealth and status does. So again, I'm trying to make a discussion here that Marxist feminists like Beachy are saying, well, it is absolutely class and status. Not to deny that women clearly, 1 in 3 women, as I've said, so 1 woman a week dies at the hands of a current or former partner. It is a problem. The issue that she would raise is, though, when we're addressing the terms of the question, all women can be denied class and status, both within home and work. And that seems to be perhaps more of a day-to-day inequality is really what I'm trying to get there, I suppose. Right, the next thing we're going to do then, we're going to move ourselves on to another Weberian group. So I'm going to put together 3 Weberians. So I'm going to put Barron and Norris, and this is going to be basically focusing on focusing on ethnicity. So for Barron and Norris, there is a dual labour market. In the primary market, conditions are good and pay scales high. The secondary market has low status, jobs that lack power, normally retail with 0 hours contracts. Women and minorities find themselves in the secondary market, as white men. can deny promotions. So they can deny promotions and responsibility due to stereotypical and racist views. So I can do Barron and Norris, women and ethnic minorities. Giddens, you could have put Giddens in paragraph 1 because he's not really ethnicity, but working class have to sell their labour, and as a result they are vulnerable to technological change. That's why they find generally their job prospects are insecure. For Rex and Tomlinson, some ethnic minorities experience low class and status, and this is compounded by racism. So Barron and Norris, dual labour market, women and people of colour can be denied access to the primary market. They can be denied promotions and responsibilities that would enable them to get promoted later on. Giddens sees that the working class are very vulnerable to any technological change because they can only sell their labour. And for Rex and Tomlinson, some ethnic minorities experience low class and low status, and this is compounded by racism. So a black underclass has developed. That feel frustrated and alienated. So those three. This shows, do my analysis. So read the question. This shows inequality, individuals, class, status, party. Yeah. So this shows that ethnic inequality is caused by individuals being denied class, status, and party. Maybe not party. Being denied class and status due to racist ideas by individuals that have the power to deny wealth and, as a result, status. So it is caused by being denied class and status, largely due to racist ideas by some individuals who really have the power to deny wealth and status should they wish. However, for Goldthorpe, I can come back to Goldthorpe to criticise Giddens. Oops, don't know what I've done there. I can criticise, do I want fireworks? No. Do I want focus? No. However, I can't get rid of the O's, don't know what I've done. However, for Palancis, everyone, to some extent, has party. Because individuals gain consent to govern as we can all vote. So it's slightly juxtapositioning, but it's a struggle here. But for Palanthas, actually everyone has party. You all are given the right to vote, and therefore people who govern or how policy decisions are made happen as a result of how you vote. So if you don't vote, you really don't really get to criticise. But ultimately, everyone has the power, everyone has party, individuals gain consent, and policy is decided by the way that we vote. You read a manifesto, you read the policies, and you vote based on that. Therefore, everyone has party, including people of colour and including women. However, so we're going to go against. We've done Weberian again. So we're going to go against. Now, the only other theorists I can find who talk about it not being class, status, or party is postmodernism. So for postmodernism, it's not about class, status, or party, but about choice and individualism. So for Podolsky and Waters, class is a historical phenomenon. When used today, it is reduced to a crude, blunt instrument. For Stronati, it is consumption that matters. It is consumption that matters. It's about style and image are important features of identity. And for Grunsky, the pressure to consume makes two-parent households become dual earners, working long hours to keep up with others. So 3, Podolsky and Walters, class is historical. Stronati, consumption that matters. It's actually style and image that are important features of identity now. And for Grunsky, it's the pressure to consume, makes two-parent households become dual earners. So this shows it is not class, status, or party that causes inequality, but individual choices about how to consume. It's difference more than inequality, as class is historical. Basically, class is gone, just about individual choice. However, for Harvey, capitalism is still at the heart of a postmodern society. The inability to consume to have style is a class or wealth issue. And certain symbols show style. And certain symbols, show status. And these two are linked to wealth. So again, I'll come back to my previous examples that I said to you in class. So you say, which one should I consume? Should I consume an electric car or should I consume a brand new, Land Rover? And you're like, well, the differences between those two things are based largely on wealth, not based on, it's not a choice if you haven't got any money to consume. So we criticise them by saying it's still a class issue because to consume you need money, and if you want to engage in certain styles of dress, you need money to wear D&G or whatever. So going against again, I've run out of Weberians now. So then I'm going to try and think about anyone who says it's class, status, or party. Well, when it's class, for Marxists, class inequality or wealth can deny status and party. So if you've got no money, you've got no status or party. So for Marx and Engels, class is defined by a person's relationship to the means of production or things that generate output or profit. The capitalist system is exploitative. It's exploitative because profit is made from working class labour. For Althusser, there are two forms of social organisation. The oppressive state apparatus and the ideological state apparatus. And then lastly, Braverman. As industries have become mechanised or have become mechanised, the working class have thus lost power in the labour market. So those three, Marx and Engels, Althusser and Braverman. And then we're going to do this shows. So this shows that it is class, status and party that cause inequality. It is class, status and party that cause inequality. Capitalism and the bourgeoisie deny wealth or class. They deny class or wealth, deny status, and run society in a political way that benefits their interests. So think of MP lobbying. Lobbying is a really good way of really highlighting gross misuse of money. So when a corporation gives an MP free tickets or gives them free tickets, ultimately that is to ensure that MP can then that the company gets something in return. Okay, so I'm going to struggle with evaluation here. So I think what I'm actually going to do, sorry if you've handwritten this, I think I'm going to have to take Palancis away from this paragraph and pop it here. I'll explain. I'm struggling with evaluation here, which is why it's important to plan them in the exam. So again, apologies if you've handwritten this, but for Giddens, Barron and Norris and Rex and Tomlinson, I'm going to say, however, for Goldthorpe, technology can improve the life chances and working conditions of the poorest, leading to less health inequalities. Potentially that's why life expectancy, along with obviously the NHS, but why life expectancies are better, our working conditions are generally so much better. But for Goldthorpe, actually, technology and working conditions, having a huge amount of technology can improve health inequalities. So that means that I'm going to take Palancis out of there and put them in Mark to evaluate Marx and Engels, Althusser and Braverman. So, however, just to remind you, for Palancis, he's a Marxist. Everyone has party. Well, everyone to some extent has parties, as individuals gain consent and policy is decided by how we vote. Marxists would have you think we have no agency at all, but you do. You have the power to vote. Disappointing how little people do, particularly women. But again, that's their right not to. But you do have the right to vote. So you do all have party. Appreciate that an institution paying an MP, I don't know, £100,000 to be, I don't know, a person on the board, and then them influencing the policy to ensure that they get better, I don't know, access to certain markets. I mean, that is political influence. And again, it's called lobbying, but it is still grossly inappropriate, one would argue. Not illegal, but grossly inappropriate. So lastly then, it's not class, status or party. For the new right, it's actually the welfare state and inadequate socialisation. So we're going to do, for Jenks, those on welfare benefits are the undeserving poor. They're more criminal. They're uneducated. And refuse to work. For Jenks, those on welfare benefits are the undeserving poor. They're more criminal, uneducated, and refuse to work. For Murray, the underclass are a subculture, and a cycle exists with illegitimate children who claim welfare, who produce badly socialised children, who produce badly socialised children, and thus a cycle continues. Murray, Jenks, and then Saunders. The welfare state traps people into a culture of dependency. As the payments are so generous. And underclass lacks skill. So it is not in their interest to work. So again, I give them 3. This shows It is not class, status, or party that cause inequality, but a welfare state that traps individuals in a culture of dependency, and this leads to inadequate socialization and higher crime rates. New right, inadequate socialization, Jenks, Murray, Saunders. However, for Jones, 20 billion claim from the welfare state, half people drawing their pensions, and of the 10 million remaining, 9.2 million work. The problem is a working poor who are not paid a wage that ensures they can live without support, which again, one would argue is a capitalist issue or a government issue. You set the living minimum wage. Minimum wage should be one you can live on, ensuring that businesses pay a wage that's appropriate for their labour. Okay, to conclude. Inequality is caused by class, by being denied. To conclude, inequality is caused by being denied access to class. So it's caused by being, I've gone onto a footer. So to conclude, inequality is caused by being denied access to class, status, and party. Individuals and systems can deny women, people of colour, and working class groups wealth that will negatively impact on their health, well-being, and life expectancy. So I'm concluding it is being denied class, status, and party, that women, people of colour, and working class can be denied wealth, and that will negatively impact upon their health, their well-being, and life expectancy. However, party is accessible to us all if we engage with politics, recognise its impact on every element of our lives as women, working class, and being of colour. So, however, my opinion is we all have access to party. If we engage with politics, we recognise its impact on every element of our lives as women, as working class, and as people of colour. The more we recognise this, the more we should know that politics impacts on our wealth or on our class and on our status. So basically, you've all got a party and you all need to recognise that party, political influence will affect your class, how much money you have, will affect your status, will affect your working conditions, your life, whether you have paternity leave, whether you have maternity leave, whether you have a good minimum wage that's enough to sustain you and not just barely survive. Those are impacted by politics. And the more we recognise that, the more people will vote and, we'll hold MPs to account when they do atrocious things. So, sorry about the O's there, folks. I'm not quite sure what I did there. I'm getting used to this Screencastify. I'm hoping it's recorded. I'm hoping it's presented my screen. Fingers crossed. Thanks very much.